I thought the tough part of this would have been just choosing to start again, but it wasn't. Hi, I'm Peter, and I'm still here, still rebuilding. The first 30 days were much tougher than I'd anticipated. So I'd had a plan. Just get out there, start walking, carrying a pack again. Get consistent with it, put in incremental efforts. Simple, right? And it'll hopefully start to flow again. Well, it just didn't. And I very nearly stopped, but I'm glad I didn't. It was just, everything was slightly off. I mean, my calves were tighter than I would have expected. The efforts were a little harder than I would have hoped. And I just expected it to come back a little easier. And it didn't. Well, at least not at first. But that was a tough realization, right? That was a tough reality I had to face. And as I said, I thought, what might fix it? Just, get a little more grit, push a little harder, go a little further, go a little faster, and hopefully that'd work. But my body started to tell me maybe that wasn't the answer. And so, as I said, I was pushing it a little every day. Nothing too dramatic, just enough that I was starting to feel it the next day. And at first I thought, this will pass, I'll get through it. And then, as I said, my body started to feel the mistakes I made early, which were, starting to compound. At first it was tolerable, but it can always start to get you, and it starts to wear on you. Maybe I can't do this. Maybe I am not ready for this, and maybe the time has passed. I won't ever be ready for this. But it should be easier than this, was my thought. And then things started to happen that made me take a real pause, a real step back, and reconsider what I'm doing. And it's when these things start to compound, and that's when it starts to get dangerous, right? When you are pushing through your pain, forcing yourself to get out there, it's not even enjoyable some days. The mistakes, they compound on themselves. They build. It's not that you're dramatically failing any given one day. It's just, your body's telling you, as I'd shared, I'm not 25 anymore. And it got a little worse until it got to the point that I had to, stop, had to take a pause, because I basically had, something occurring with my feet that I just couldn't explain. And it was literally painful to get up out of bed every morning. Stepping onto the floor, and I knew it was coming every day, was downright painful. It was, you know, I had shooting pains across the top of my feet, and not just one, on both of my feet. So I couldn't just say, hey, it was a misstep or something like that and forget about it. It was, you know, concerning. So chatted to a good hiking friend of mine, and he suggested I go see a podiatrist. And you know, you always fear going to a doctor because doctors' general advice always is stop what you're doing. You're gonna damage yourself, and that'll be the end of it. And this adventure, this journey, this trail I decided on would then be over before I even started. And I didn't want to do that, so I got the number from him, but I paused for, you know, and just thought maybe the pain will just go away. And it didn't. It got worse, and I'm stubborn, so my wife tells me. And I eventually just said, hey, I gotta go see a doctor. And that's what I did. And it was not all bad news, which is good. Turns out the pain in my feet was coming from my back. There was tickling in my lower lumbar, parts of my back that were pinching on the nerves that go to the top of my feet. And when I first heard this, I thought, oh great, that's definitely going to end up being a, hey, Peter, you got an old back, you got an old body, you got bad feet, and you got to stop. Well, I now know why my buddy had referred me to this podiatrist, and I'm thankful that he did. It turns out they actually said the reverse. They said, look, when was the last time you replaced your bed? And I was a little bit puzzled at that comment, but because I thought, what does my bed have to do with hiking other than that's where I sleep? And they said, look, your bed, if it's old, is not going to give you the support it used to, and you'll be causing the pinching of the nerves. So lo and behold, I adjust my bed, change it so that it becomes a little more firm, and literally within, I'd say, a week, the pain in the top of my feet, which was so bad every morning I was literally hobbling to the bathroom, it all but went away completely. I'll be honest, the podiatrist did give me a lot of good news. It was great to find out it wasn't my back, or wasn't my feet rather, and it was simply my back. And that with just a little bit of an adjustment to my bed and how I slept, it should cure itself, and it did. Like I said, within a week the pain was gone. However, I asked the follow-on question, which, you know, is a good thing to do. You've already got the person who's a specialist on feet sitting there, and asked the question, what else can I do to help keep my feet in the condition I want them in? And she chuckled a little, looked at me and said, well, you might not like this advice, but losing a few pounds will help as well, because you just won't have to carry them, and each down step it won't be there anymore. And sometimes that's that's tough to hear and harder to put into practice, but I'll own it. You know, I'm not the super skinny lean guy that I was, particularly not at the start of this. I had definitely, you know, put on a few pounds, and so that's another one of the challenges I've, you know, got to accept to try and alleviate, you know, stress injuries and those types of things, and you know, make sure I get through this. So it's sometimes not just the gear or, you know, a lighter this or lighter that. Sometimes you have to make a lighter you, and I'm working on that as well. So not a fun thing to have to own. So this is the part where people don't talk about when they have these type of journeys and so forth, when things just don't feel right. It's a bit of a struggle, you know. And to be quite honest, it's not like in the last 30 days or so I got really any stronger or any skinnier. It's more that I just didn't stop turning up. And I think that's the critical part. Just keep turning up.